Every road I had followed seemed to end here. Every nation I had heard about seemed to gather beneath these gates. Crossing the gate felt like stepping into another world. Beyond these walls stood not just a city, but the heart of an empire. I had never imagined a road this wide. It seemed as though the city itself had been designed to welcome the entire world. For the first time in my life, I heard languages I could not understand, spoken side by side in perfect harmony. With so many people, I expected chaos. Instead, Chang'an moved with the quiet precision of a living masterpiece. Even in the busiest city on Earth, there were places where the sound of water seemed louder than the voices of a million people.
Chang'an was not simply a capital. It was a celebration of humanity itself.
Only from above could I begin to understand its true scale. Chang'an was not built like other cities. It was planned like a vision.
As the first lanterns awakened across Chang'an, I understood that I had not arrived at the end of my journey.
Every step reminded me that Chang'an had been built not only for power, but for harmony.
The city's waterways were as carefully planned as its streets, carrying life through Chang'an with quiet precision.
Each neighborhood felt like a city within a city, carefully organized so that thousands could live together in remarkable order. Wherever I turned, another master transformed ordinary materials into objects worthy of an empire. East Market overflowed with treasures created across the empire, each one telling the story of remarkable hands and remarkable minds.
It seemed that anything the human imagination could create could be found somewhere within these endless streets.
Years ago, I had watched paper being born. Now it had become one of the city's most treasured creations. Knowledge was no longer hidden behind palace walls. Here in the marketplace, anyone with curiosity could carry a piece of the world home. From above, the market seemed alive, breathing with the rhythm of countless dreams brought together beneath one sky. The markets rested with the setting sun, but Chang'an was only beginning to reveal its true magic after dark.
If the East Market displayed the wealth of China, the West Market revealed the vastness of the world beyond it.
Here, every face carried the memory of another homeland, and every language opened a door to a different world. Objects I had only heard described by travelers now shimmered before my eyes, carrying the skill of distant craftsmen into the heart of China. The air itself seemed foreign, filled with scents from deserts, mountains, and seas I had never seen. Trade required more than goods. It demanded trust, patience, and the willingness to understand someone unlike yourself. In Chang'an, even a meal could become a journey across the world.
Music needed no interpreter. Within moments, strangers from distant lands were clapping to the same rhythm.
Goods were not the only things exchanged here. Beliefs, philosophies, and questions traveled just as freely.
From above, the West Market looked less like a place of trade and more like the world gathered into a single living tapestry. I had spent my life following the Silk Road. In Chang'an, I finally understood that the road was not a path between worlds.
Beyond these walls stood the machinery of the empire, where decisions made in quiet halls could shape the lives of millions. The city outside celebrated life. Here, every courtyard carried the weight of law, ceremony, and imperial authority. Even clothing revealed a man's place within the court. Color, position, and movement followed rules older than many kingdoms. Paper had become the nervous system of the empire, carrying orders, taxes, and news across distances that once seemed impossible. Kings beyond China's borders sent envoys here, not only to honor the emperor, but to stand close to the center of the age.
The damming palace did not seem built by ordinary men. It rose above the city like a vision shaped from
hundreds moved as one. In that perfect silence, the power of the Tang court felt greater than any army I had ever seen. Beauty filled the palace, but strength protected it. Every gate, corridor, and hall remained under watch. Behind the ceremony and authority, another world survived, one devoted to beauty, reflection, and the quiet discipline of art. I had seen the empire's power from within its walls. But as night approached, Chang'an prepared to show me something even more unforgettable. When darkness fell, Chang'an did not disappear. It became brighter, warmer, and more alive than before. By night, the boundaries between rank and homeland seemed to soften beneath the same golden light. Inside the tea houses, news traveled faster than caravans, carried from table to table by memory, rumor, and imagination.
Long before stories were preserved in books, they survived in voices strong enough to hold an entire room.
In Chang'an, music from the palace, the countryside, and distant foreign lands could meet within a single song. Her dance had crossed mountains and deserts before reaching this hall, transformed by every culture it touched along the way. Poetry was not hidden inside libraries. It lived in gardens, wine cups, friendships, and moments too beautiful to remain unspoken. A single sheet of paper could capture what even memory might lose: the light of the moon, the ache of distance, and the passing of a life. Even after midnight, Chang'an fed the hungry, welcomed the weary, and offered warmth to anyone willing to join its crowded tables. That night, I understood why poets struggled to describe Chang'an. Some wonders are too large. In Chang'an, knowledge was honored as deeply as power. A sharpened mind could change a family's destiny. Every lesson taught here prepared future officials to govern not only provinces, but themselves. Within these quiet halls rested centuries of memory, preserved one careful page at a time. Every movement of the brush demanded patience. Art began long before the first line touched the page. Some sought fortune through trade, others through war. These young men hoped to earn honor with nothing more than knowledge. I realized that paper alone had changed history once. Combined with new ways of copying knowledge, its influence would become even greater. The greatest artists did not simply paint the world. They searched for the spirit hidden within it. Faith, learning, and compassion flourished together in Chang'an, each strengthening the other. The greatness of Chang'an was measured not only by its walls, but by the ideas that flourished within them. Every lesson I witnessed prepared me for one final realization. Chang'an did not merely gather the world's treasures, it created the future. Before the city fully awakened, the Silk Road was already preparing to carry Chang'an's influence beyond the horizon. Every bundle carried more than wealth. It carried the skill, imagination, and memory of the Tang Empire.
I knew these roads well. They were cruel, beautiful, and powerful enough to connect lives separated by entire continents.
The most valuable cargo was often the lightest. Ideas that could survive deserts, borders, and generations.
Chang'an faced west toward the deserts, but its imagination also followed ships across distant seas.
People arrived as strangers, yet many left, carrying friendships that no border could erase. The same gates that welcomed the world also sent pieces of Chang'an outward, carried by footsteps, hooves, and courage.
I knew some travelers would never return. The Silk Road rewarded ambition, but it demanded a heavy price.
Behind me stood the greatest city of the age. Before me stretched the roads that carried its legacy into the future.
Chang'an gathered the world within its walls, then returned it transformed.
As I watched the sleeping city, I realized I had witnessed more than prosperity. I had witnessed the peak of an entire civilization. The greatness of Chang'an was not built by emperors alone. It lived in the quiet work of countless ordinary people.
Behind every magnificent dynasty were families hoping for nothing more than another peaceful sunrise together.
Every canal, every bridge, and every road worked together like the veins of a living city. Many future capitals would imitate Chang'an, but none could fully recreate the spirit that filled these streets.
Some carried silk, others carried books. All carried pieces of Chang'an into lands they had never seen before.
From this height, I understood why travelers called Chang'an the center of the world. It was not merely large, it was limitless in ambition. Even the greatest city needed quiet places where the soul could breathe beyond the noise of history. Cities rise, empires flourish, yet only a few moments in history become legends remembered across the centuries. I knew this moment would never return. But as long as someone remembered Chang'an, its golden age would never truly fade. After nights filled with music and light, Chang'an always returned to silence, as though the city itself needed time to dream. I had spent most of my life moving from one horizon to another. Yet for the first time, I wondered whether my journey had finally brought me home. Chang'an had become more than a wonder I observed. It had become a life I shared with a million others. At first, these streets had overwhelmed me with their size. Now every corner carried a familiar voice, a remembered face, and a story of its own.
These people had arrived from different worlds, yet Chang'an had given us a common place within its walls.
I had once witnessed paper begin as wet fibers in a humble workshop. Now it carried the wisdom, art, and dreams of an empire.
From this height, the people vanished into the scale of the city. Yet I knew every light below belonged to a human life. I knew no golden age could last forever. But in that moment, Chang'an seemed powerful enough to defeat time itself. Empires are remembered through battles and rulers. But I would remember the people, the music. I had crossed deserts, climbed mountains, and watched paper change the world. But nowhere